Okay. All right. Well, hello everybody, and we want to welcome you to the CakeFu Master Series training. We're sorry we're a couple minutes late getting going here. We had some technical difficulties, as often happens with computers. And in case you're wondering what happened to Amelia's voice, I am not Amelia. I am actually a friend and a fan of Amelia. My name is Michelle Davis, and I'm going to act as our host today because we are so blessed to have Amelia doing our training today. And so she asked me if I would just kind of join in so that she's not a lone soul out here doing it all by herself. So I'm gonna just kind of guide us through a little bit, but Amelia's gonna take over with most of it. So just again, real quick on myself. My name is Michelle Davis, and I'll just give you a quick introduction for me. I've been decorating cakes for about 15 years, kind of off and on. With kids and stuff, and right now I live in Belgrade, Montana, and I don't own a bakery, but I have an app out for the iPhone called Sweet Dreams Cake App, and I also run a blog called sweetdreamscakeapp.com, and I'm in the process right now of getting out a cookie decorating app as well, and so you should hopefully see that out there in a couple months. But enough about me, though. We want to talk about Amelia. So she really probably doesn't need much introduction, since I'm sure most of you already know who she is if you've joined us for any of these trainings. But a lot of times you see her as the host, and of course Amelia is also an amazing cake decorator herself and has lots of great things to teach us. So today she's going to be teaching us a little bit on a denim technique. And so I'll just, Amelia, I'll just kind of introduce you a little bit for those who don't know her. So you've been decorating cakes for about 11 years, you said, right?
Yeah, the little thing says 10 years. I guess I should have changed that from the last time we had a training with me. But yeah, it's been about 11 years. I can always tell that it's, been another year because of my sister's anniversary. So
That's a great way to be able to remember when you have a special event like that when it started.
yep. Yep,
And
it was my trial by fire, so
yeah, that's usually the best way to dive into things.
isn't
That's how I'm
it?
doing this hosting here for this.
Exactly, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And Amelia, of course, is also an award-winning cake decorator, and I know she's done several contests. And the biggie is she's been in the Oklahoma State Sugar Art Show twice. She's entered, both times coming in the top five. Of the winning top five cakes. And if you have not been to the Oklahoma State Sugar Art Show, you cannot fully appreciate the level of cakes that these are. I mean, I had always heard about how amazing they were, and I finally got a chance to go a couple years in a row, and oh my goodness, I was just completely blown away. So to know that Amelia had placed third runner-up and fourth runner-up 2 years in a row, it just gave a whole new level of credibility to her abilities. It was just incredible.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. And she's also been on TLC's Ultimate Cake Off, which that was really fun to watch. And she's owned, when she lived in Utah, she owned Frosted Fantasy Cakes, which she now lives in Las Vegas. And do you still run a business like that in Las Vegas?
No, I actually don't have an official like bakery type cake business. The laws here in Nevada are different than in Utah. They don't have the cottage laws here. And I didn't want to leave my, 6 little kids to, fend for themselves while I go do things. So cake food is my main focus right now. So
All right. And then you've also taught too at the ISIS convention, and you've taught some in. Did you teach recently too?
yes, I am looking at this about page and it is so not updated. It is so not updated. I have another kid from I don't have 5 kids, I have 6. And the convention, I have actually taught at 2 conventions. I taught one in Reno last year, so
Yeah, I thought you had. Yeah.
hmm
And so, and of course, you've come up then with this cake food, which has been a wonderful way to get a lot of information out there to all of us decorators who are trying to constantly learn more. But I do have to say, of all your achievements and accomplishments, I think your greatest accomplishment is being the mother of 6 beautiful children.
oh,
That
thank
is
you. you.
amazing. And I'm just amazed that you can even ever get to any cakes with six children at home.
Yeah, it can be, hectic at times. I'm actually doing one this week for icing smiles, so I'm really excited about that.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. So I have a babysitter coming over on Friday to to watch my kids for a few hours.
Oh, that is great. And that's for anyone who's not familiar with that organization. That is just an incredible organization that, do you want to explain what they do, Amelia?
Sure, yeah. Well, Icing Smiles is a really great organization. They have a system set up where you can go on and volunteer to do a cake for a child who is terminally ill. And, these families are just needing some kind of, boost and pick me up because no kid should have to go through what they have to go through with this kind of thing. And to be able to put a smile on their face for even 5 minutes, it makes it all worth it. So,
Right.
oh, look, there's me. Oops. Okay, we're gonna have to reopen something really fast. Here we go, guys. Sorry. And you guys can see me how I look without makeup. My goodness, I look horrible.
That's what a true mom of six kids is like.
Yes, this is mom of six kids right here. Yeah, my little boy was kind of sad today, so I didn't get to me. Okay, so here we should be back now. My little boy was kind of sad today. Here we go. Okay, so here we should be back now. Oh, and now I can hear.
Oh, yeah, my stuff was playing over. Okay, there. I think I stopped it. Hopefully we're okay again.
Okay, you still hear me though, right?
Yes, I can still
Okay.
hear you. Yep, we're good. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, well, and so you're going to be teaching us today on this cake that you just recently did. Is that correct?
Yeah, I did a cake for, it was just a 50th birthday, and I posted a picture of it, and I got a lot of, how did you do that? So I thought, hey, the trainer that we were supposed to have a couple weeks, or today, had some kind of a, I guess, emergency or something, couldn't do it. So I thought, oh, well, I guess we'll teach this.
Oh, and I'm so excited for this too because I saw the cake and I just absolutely loved it, which I know a lot of people did. And especially I live out in the country, and so we get, a lot. Everyone wears jeans out here, and I just there's been a lot of times when I've thought about incorporating some kind of jean aspect into my cakes, but wasn't quite sure how to do it. And yours just really has turned out some of the best of some of them that I've ever seen. So I'm so excited for you to teach us.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Well, do you want to just go ahead and get going on it?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I knew I wanted to do this jean cake. I actually went online and did some, Google searching because that's what we all do when we have a cake inspiration and try to find things out.
Yep.
And so I did a Google search for like a jean effect on cake. And I didn't find very much. And what I did find, it just wasn't what I wanted. And so I thought, oh, why isn't there anything out there? Why hasn't anybody figured this out yet? So I'm sure that somebody somewhere has a really nice jean technique that I just didn't find, but this is the way I came up with, and so I hope you guys, like the way it worked out. When I looked at a pair of jeans and thought, how do I create this? I saw, lines that go back and forth, and I saw, kind of a dot type texture. And I thought, well, I could use a paper towel and just tap out texture and maybe that'll work. But then I thought, that'll look more marbled than jean. And then I thought I could just do brush strokes up and down and sideways and and then I thought, that's not what I want either. So this is the way I came up to do my denim. So first of all, you'll need 2 fan brushes, and one that's dry, one that you'll actually use wet.
And can we just get those at just like a craft store or whatever?
Yeah, any kind of hobby store. The thing about this this brush. I know that there'll probably be a lot of questions on what brand of brushes do you use, and for this, the cheapest brush you can find is the best because you want it to separate. You want it to be able to, come apart and not have that perfectly even brush stroke. So the cheaper the brush, the better with this.
Okay, okay.
So,
As opposed to if you're really doing paintings.
yeah, exactly. If you're gonna do like a really fancy painting, you would want a nice brush that stays together, that stays,
Right.
nice and even. But this one, you want it to separate a little bit. So,
Oh, and
so
before we go on, Amelia, should we
yes.
mention if people have questions, just
Oh,
to go to the bottom of the page there, they can ask their question and go ahead and submit that, and that will come to me, and then I will kind of go through them and we'll ask Amelia questions later on at the end of the teaching.
perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so you've got your fan brushes and then paper towels. You want to make sure that it's a textured paper towel. This one right here is it's a Bounty paper towel. So I know that there's lots of textured paper towels out there. So you can use whatever you want as long as it has some, I
Has a
guess divots
text.
and yeah, that texture.
Yeah.
So, okay. And then airbrush colors. I always use airbrush colors whenever I'm painting. I know that a lot of people use just watered down food coloring, but I always run to my airbrush colors because they're already diluted, they're already ready. So
Oh, so you don't have to mix them with any kind of extract or alcohol or anything like that.
yeah, that's what I tend to go for.
Uh-huh.
So, and I used blue, black, and white. So those are the colors I used. All right, so then we're going to start with a really light blue surface on our fondant. You can, of course, if you're going to be going for a different style or color of jean, of course, you can change the color, but this is what I went with.
Uh-huh.
So,
Your traditional jean that way.
yeah. Okay, and then we're going to do, with our first fan brush, we're going to dip it in the blue airbrush color, and we're just going to do up and down strokes. Just go up and down around the whole cake. You don't want it to be, you don't want it to be perfect. So, this is such a don't worry about it kind of a thing. It doesn't have to be perfect, and in fact, you don't want it to be perfect because then it won't look like what you want it to look.
Right. You want to, yeah, look more realistic that way then.
Yeah, and just a tip for you guys, make sure that you're doing this on the surface under your cake is not another tier of cake, because otherwise you're gonna get paint on it. So you actually want to do this texturing and everything before you put your cake together. I made the mistake of doing my base tier, my bottom tier, on the actual base. And I ended up getting some blue food coloring on my base. So you don't, yeah. So make sure you do that first before you put it all together.
That's where it's so helpful to talk to somebody who's already done it that can, because you always learn these things after you make the mistake.
Exactly. Yep. So that's something I will always do. If next time I do this, I will make sure it's on a different surface, or at least put, a paper towel or sheet of wax paper, wedge it in between your tiers or whatever, just to make sure that there's something down there that you're not gonna, get your brushwork on.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
So. All right, then gonna take your same fan brush, same color, and you're just gonna go horizontal stripes and just go back and forth and back and forth. Again, it's all random, it's all imperfections, so don't worry about being the perfectionist on this one. That's hard for me because I am kind of a perfectionist.
I understand. I'm that way too.
But the more random, the better. And it makes it go a lot faster. So this is actually, you have to give it time in between to dry a little bit, but it's a fairly quick technique given it's an overall whole cake coverage kind of thing. So
Right.
So it's not too bad. All right, then we're going to take our paper towel and fold it up. I know a lot of times when I'm trying to do like a marbling technique or something, I'll take a paper towel and I'll wad it up, I'll scrunch it up,
Mhm.
and then it'll give a really good marbling effect, when you're doing that kind of thing. But this one I wanted and kind of an overall fabric look, and so I just folded it. I didn't, wad it up or anything. So
Mhm.
and then you're going to take your blue food coloring and add just a few drops of black. In fact, it's just barely any black at all. If you add very much black, the whole thing is going to go, black.
Right. So just
So
enough to darken it, just a hint, huh?
exactly. I know the paper towel looks like it's completely black, but it absorbs the black and accents the black a lot more than than the true color is. So
Uh-huh.
I guess I mean you can see right here I start to put the blue on the darker blue, and you can see that there's quite a bit of blue in there, and but there's some black. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's going to add to the dimension of things. You want it to look like an actual piece of fabric, and denim isn't flat. You can actually see the different levels and layers. So
Right.
so yeah, you're gonna just do that all over the whole cake. You just keep dipping your paper towel into your color, and then just keep patting it all the way around.
Now, did you have to, when you brushed on the original blue stripes, did you need to let those set and dry for a while before you did this step?
A little bit. It actually worked out pretty well because it being a two-tiered cake, I just did one tier with the vertical stripes and then did the other tier with the vertical stripes. Then went back to the first tier, did the horizontal stripes and horizontal stripes on the other one. By the time I got back to this first tier, it was dry enough that I was able
Okay.
to go and do the next layer.
Yeah.
So so yeah, you want to give it a little bit of time, but if you're doing anything more than a one layer cake, you know, you'll naturally use that time doing it. So,
Right. Right.
okay. And so there's kind of the overall, you can see that I've got the paper towel effect over the top of that. And so you can still see a little bit, you can still see those lines going vertically and horizontally. And you know, I think that's where the difference is made with this gene effect is that you have both and you have the layers.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah,
so
definitely. It's neat looking.
yeah, kind of fun. And I mean, you could stop there, but I always have to take it a step further. And by the way, if you don't want to make your hands, black, you might want to wear a glove because, especially if you're doing a lot. I mean, yeah, my hands are still a little blue from that. So this is our last, well, not our last, our next layer that we're going to do. We're going to take our white airbrush color. White, you got to make sure that you shake that really well. It separates really quickly. So every time you refill the white, every time you use it, you want to shake it really well. Um, so then the same paper towel effect. You can see I already started doing some of the white. It picks up a little bit of the blue, but that's okay. It blends pretty well. And so if you see at the top of the cake, you can see a little bit of the white. I did get a spot in there that was extra white, and at first I was like, "Oh no, I messed it up." But if you look at a pair of jeans, naturally they have that, that washed effect. That, you know,
Right, the fading and stuff in them.
exactly. And so that was oh no, I messed up, and then it was oh well, you know what? That's probably a good thing.
Those are the
So
best mess ups.
exactly, exactly. So again, it's the imperfections are actually a really good thing on this cake. So you don't have to worry too much about, messing things up. And you want to do just enough of this white so that you can see a little bit of white on the top, but you can still see everything else that's going through the cake. You want to still see those stripes, and you still want to see that light blue throughout the original light blue.
Uh-huh.
So just make sure you see kind of all the colors. And by the time I got to this point, I thought, well, what was the point of doing those vertical stripes? Because they're almost gone. You can hardly see them. But I actually went through on another piece of fondant, and I tried doing just the, just the paper towel effect, and it really did make a big difference. So you might look back and think, oh, well, the stripes are pretty much gone. Was there really a point in that? But it really does
It really
make a
does,
difference
huh?
overall.
Just give
Yeah.
some depth to it a little bit. I'm sure you just see just enough of it to give it that
hmm
stitching look or whatever that the fabric would have.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so our last step um, is going to be with our dry brush. And so we're going to take that dry brush and just, you don't want to do an overall sweep with this brush. You want to do just tiny little, tiny little strokes. So you're just mimicking the little threads that are in the fabric, and what you're doing is you're pulling the white that you've just done. You're kind of pulling it and dragging it a little bit. So you actually want to do this while your white is still there and wet. Um, and you don't want to do the whole thing. You don't want to get, the whole thing crisscrossed. Just little bits here and there, and just drag just a tiny bit. And that's what's going to give you those, little tiny threads that you can see in a pair of jeans. Just the little white threads here and there.
Right.
So
Now,
that's
so you said you want it still a little bit wet. So do you do it in sections then, or do you put
yes.
it all over the whole cake, the white first, and then come back to it?
Yeah, you want to do it in sections. And so I will do like about a maybe a 4-inch square of the white, and then I'll dry brush it, and then move on and do another, and then dry brush that. So it
Okay.
it kind of just in sections as you go all the way around.
Right.
So,
Right.
so yeah.
It looks really good.
Thank you. So then when you're done with that, another thing is this is all part of the decorating part now. When you decide where you want your, I guess the seams of the pants, or the jeans, the denim, where you want the seams, you're going to actually do darker in that area. If you look at a pair of jeans, just go to your closet or the ones you're wearing now. You can see where the seams are. There is a darker section right there. I did my dark section probably thicker than I wanted it to, and in fact, when I finished, I went back with the white and patted out a little bit more white so that it blended a little bit more and took away a little bit of that, because I thought it was just a little too wide.
Okay, yeah.
But so yeah, you can see I marked where I wanted my seams to be, and then
What'd you use to mark it?
I just used what did I use? I think just a pastry wheel is what I marked it with.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Um, you could use, I mean, you could use anything that's, like a straight edge. I actually used a straight edge, like a ruler, and marked it with that way with the pastry wheel. But if
Amelia,
you're,
we're getting some, there sounds like some men talking in the background.
okay, hang on.
I guess she's getting that figured out for us. She'll be right back.
Okay, hopefully that's
Oh, that's
lessened it a
better.
little bit. Okay.
Starting to drown you out a bit, so.
Sorry. All right, so anyway, so I got that blue by just the same paper towel effect with the blue and black. So that's the darker that we did with I guess our second layer.
Uh-huh.
And yeah.
Okay.
All right, so that explains that, I think.
Yeah.
All right, so then here are our seams that we're going to be putting on. I went with a 3/4 inch strip is what I used. And basically I just did the same effect with the back and the sideways and the vertical stripes, same steps, except for when I got to the white, I did something a little bit different. And so this is the steps clear up until the white part.
So you cut the strips before you did the paint on them.
I did. I cut the strips first. You could actually paint it and then cut them, and it would work out, but you just have to make sure that it dries enough before you actually cut it.
Yeah.
Otherwise it's gonna, your pastry wheel is gonna start sticking and it's gonna just be a big mess. So I would recommend cutting it first.
Okay.
Yeah, it ends up being a little bit more tedious because you have to do each one. But I mean, if you have them right in a row, they go pretty quickly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then here is what I did with the white. Again, if you look at a pair of jeans, the seam has a different, color pattern to it. If you can see that there's some spots that are dark and some spots that are light, and it all depends on where the sewing has been, how it's been washed, that kind of thing. So, but you can see that there's kind of little bubbles or stripes of color as you go down the seam. And so that's the effect that I wanted to get with the white. And so I just kind of did little vertical stripes along the the strip right there. And that's how I got that effect. And again, I used the dry brush, the dry fan brush, and did a little bit of, you know, I guess swiping, getting those little thread lines in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
it's great.
yeah. So then once you get it to that point, you can put the strips on your cake. And of course you want to let it dry a little bit so that you're not, sticking and messing up the effect. And it'll still be flexible. When you paint on fondant, the time that it takes to dry, the fondant underneath isn't going to mess up. It's not going to crack and like fondant usually does if you leave it too long. So
Right.
so yeah, you can let this dry for quite a while and it'll be pretty flexible. You just want it to be, I mean, it can be a tiny bit tacky, but if it starts to pull up some of the color when you let go of it, you don't want to mess with it yet. Let it sit.
Okay. And then what did you just lay the strips directly on, or did you use something to adhere them with?
I used just a little bit of water. I mean, at this point, I was kind of in a hurry, and so I was putting it together. Everything was still just a little bit damp, so I could have just probably set it on the cake and it would have been fine.
Uh-huh.
But I wanted just a tiny bit of water just to make sure that it was gonna stick together. So
Right.
so nothing really fancy or or anything. So once you get your strips on there, you'll see that the sides where you cut, there's going to still be white. And so you'll just take a small brush and brush, your color onto the sides, uh,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
just to cover up those cut marks. And, it doesn't have to be fancy. I just took that darker blue color and just painted along, and it went pretty quickly.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it covered it up real nicely. You can't even tell where the white was.
yeah, yeah. So I mean it all kind of blends together because you have all the different, textures and everything that, just paint it. It's not. I mean, if you get a streak somewhere that you can tell it's like a paint line, then you can actually go through um, and touch it up with a paper towel. I actually, now that I think about it, I should have remembered this, but I actually diluted the airbrush color even more when I did this part. when I did the little side parts and painted that because
Oh,
it was getting a little bit darker than I wanted it to be, and so I mean you could just go back to the more blue, but I didn't want it to be. I wanted it to have the same amount of black that because it changed the hue, I guess, of the. I guess it changed the color when I added the black. I didn't want to go
right.
back to straight blue, or it would have been funny. But I didn't want it to be that same, quite as dark. So I diluted it a little bit so that it could, just, I guess, show a little bit of the fondant through still.
Hmm. What did you dilute with? Just some water, or how did
I
you?
did, yeah, I just used water. Water with airbrush colors actually works out pretty well. So if you're concerned about it, I guess you could use like a vodka or a lemon extract, that kind of a thing, and it will dry faster if that's what you're going for. But the airbrush colors take a little while to dry anyway, and so adding that to it, adding water to it doesn't make a big difference.
Okay.
So.
All right.
All right, and then this is adding on the pockets. I did the same thing with the pockets. I cut out the pocket shape, and then I did the effect, the painted effect, and then once it was dry enough, I stuck it on. You can see the imperfection there at the top corner, the top right corner. There's
Uh-huh.
a little bit more blue than it doesn't have all the top colors on it. My finger got stuck in there.
Oh.
And it pulled up some color. But again, that actually looks, it makes it look like an actual, washed denim kind of look.
Exactly. I thought you
So,
had meant to do that.
so if you want that effect, go ahead and stick your fingers all over. I was kind of in a hurry at that point, and also you're gonna add in those little sewing marks, and my if you can see my little tool that has it's just a Wilton brand
Hmm.
little tool. You can see that it has some blue in the tool itself. It started to pick up some of the paint and pulling up a little bit of the fondant with it, and so I had been just kind of dabbing it onto my dusting puff
Hmm.
that of cornstarch to keep it from pulling up more color. And so that's why you can see in the lines of this, it's kind of white in the lines.
Right.
That's from the cornstarch, and
Oh.
it ends up not being a problem in the end because you can steam it out, or you can. I actually piped over it, um, so
Hmm.
yeah. But I was in a hurry, and so I just went to town on it without letting it dry long enough, and it started to do some funny things. So make sure if you're going to do that, I would recommend letting it dry a little bit longer.
Okay.
But yeah, and so I just put some little lines in it for the pockets, do something decorative, and thought that would be kind of fun. So yeah, and I think that is the overall look. One thing that I did that I didn't show a picture of was with my with those seams that or not the seams, the sewing lines that I put in there. I took some kind of a yellowish, tannish color of frosting, and I put it in a tip too, and I kind of just piped right along that line, but it was right against it so that every time there was a bump, it would kind of cut off the frosting, and so it looked like little pieces of thread the sewn into the little grooves. So
Right.
yeah, I guess you can kind of see that if you're looking at the overall picture, the background picture, you can probably see a little bit better what I was talking about.
Hmm.
It wasn't perfect. Like I said, I was in a hurry. At this point, if I'd have gone back, I probably would have tried to get straighter lines on my seams, or on my sewing, and because I again am that perfectionist.
But
But that's how I
you
got
look at
that.
a lot of times, even in real jeans, it's not, real perfect. So
True,
I think it
that's
adds
very
to the
true.
authenticity.
Very true. So yeah, then I just added the tags and all the details, the piping and that was my cake.
Oh, well, it
So
just turned out adorable.
thank you.
Yeah, and I do. It looks like we've got. Let's see. I've got a question here.
Okay.
Just one second. Okay. This is from Jiya, Gia, I guess, from Orlando, and she says, "Is this cake covered in fondant or buttercream? And can this technique be used either or?"
This was done on fondant. If you have a really light hand, you could probably get away with it on buttercream. It would definitely have to be a crusted buttercream, but I would recommend sticking with the fondant, honestly, because of all of the brushing that you're going to have to do. Um, if you were to do this on a buttercream, you would have to make sure that it's nice and firm every step, because the color is going to soften up that buttercream. So I would recommend sticking with the fondant. So I don't know if you want to do it on buttercream and try it out and let me know how it goes. That'd be great.
There you go. Let someone else try that one.
Yeah. But
Yeah, I would
I
think.
personally would stick with the fondant.
Yeah, I would think with especially with the brush and stuff, you'd end up just scraping away so much of the buttercream that it would cause some problems, I would think.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I tend to think. So
Yeah. And now on the cake board there, that looks just so cute too. It looks almost like a cutting board. Is that all hand done too on the cake board?
yeah, I just I covered my board, my base with some fondant and I just with a kind of a tannish brownish color. And then with a paper towel, I wadded it up. I scrunched it, and then I took a more tan color of my airbrush colors. I had to create it because I didn't have that color. I think it was a combination of brown and white and maybe a little bit of yellow or even a touch of green to pull out some more of that red. But I just took that and patted it down on the surface, and that kind of gave that grainy, marbly kind of effect. So
Uh-huh.
same went with that little leather patch that was up at the top. It was the same kind of effect. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, and then the red that was just all piped onto the board there then?
yeah, I just took a tip too and some red food color or some red buttercream. I didn't worry too much about whether it's royal icing or buttercream or anything. I had the buttercream, and so that's what I used. so so yeah, I just took a tip too, and um, I tried to go as fast as I could. The whole thing about getting a cake for somebody else, making money off of it, is to try and get it through fast.
Yeah.
So I just kind of went along and just dot as fast as I could. But just little flower patterns and little swirls and things like that, so that it had some red in there, but you know, not too fancy. It just kind of looks like that embroidery kind of look that you sometimes see on jeans.
Right. Right. Oh.
So.
Well, how were the recipients just thrilled with it?
Yeah, they loved it. They thought it was pretty great. They told me I should be on one of those shows.
You told them I already have been.
Yeah, I did. It was kind of fun. Yeah.
Now, is there a story behind the cake?
Yeah, this was for a woman's 50th birthday, and I guess the husband is the one who ordered the cake. and he said that their song is "Forever in Blue Jeans," and
Oh.
so yeah, that's why they had the "Forever in Blue Jeans." And then on the little tag, I put her name. So so yeah, it's kind
What?
of fun.
Oh, that is great. Well, I'm looking here.
Yep.
I don't see any other questions coming through at this time. So if anyone has another
Okay.
question, feel free to send it to Amelia. Amelia, do you like prefer a certain brand or anything of the airbrush colors when you're using those?
Well, the only brand I've ever really used is the Chroma Color. I guess I think Copy Cake puts out the Chroma Color.
Uh-huh.
When I first, bought my airbrush, I bought this whole set of, nice big container of colors, and I've only had to replace a few of them because, of running out,
Hmm.
because it's been nice and large and big enough, and I don't do a lot of really detailed airbrushing. I would like to do more.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's the only color that I've ever really, the only brand that I've ever really used. So,
Okay.
but it is a good brand. I really like them.
Yeah. Well, obviously, looking at your work, it obviously works well. So,
Well, thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, we do have my recipe that I can share with you, and then I guess go from there.
great.
But I
Oh,
know,
yummy. I love
yeah, I know
zucchini.
it's a little bit out of season for zucchini at this point, but I was going through my recipes. I've already shared two recipes because I've done two trainings, and just thought, what else can I share? And I saw this, and I thought, oh, I love zucchini bread. So,
Oh, yeah, that
so
looks
yeah.
yummy.
This is one of the first dessert type recipes that I ever learned as a kid. One of the first things that my parents, or that my mom, that I remember her making. And so this is one of those really comfort things to me because I don't know, I guess just takes me back.
Oh, yeah. Well, and for anyone who has a garden, and if you grow zucchini, you know that zucchini never stops growing. So
It
it's
doesn't.
good to have lots of great recipes for it.
Yeah, I love zucchini every way you have it. I just love it. So, but I mean, in zucchini bread is probably the yummiest way to have it. So, and
Definitely.
it's a really easy recipe too. I mean, you just mix the wet, mix the dry, put them together, pour them in a pan, and bake it for, about an hour. So it's a
Uh-huh.
really easy recipe, and you know, yeah,
Now, will
it's
you
great.
be posting this on the website for in case, people don't have time to write it all down?
Yes, yes. Yeah, I will be posting it later today on the blog, so you guys can go and look it up there. So,
Okay.
yeah, and
Great.
by the way, this training will actually kind of repost itself right where it is. So if you guys want to see it again or have missed parts of it, you can just wait a little bit until it is completely there, and you can watch the whole thing over again. So,
Good.
so yeah.
Right.
All right, so I guess maybe I explained it well enough that there's no more questions.
Yeah, I'm looking to see if there's any more, and as it doesn't look like anything else has come through, hopefully my end is working okay here. So if you did send a question and I didn't ask it, I apologize, but hopefully we've covered everything. And I'm sure if you do still have questions, I'm sure Amelia wouldn't mind if can they contact you through the blog or anything if they have any questions.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. You guys can ask me anywhere, anytime. I'm on Facebook, I'm on, on the blog, and you can you can always ask me questions. I'm always up
And I
for
can
it.
vouch for that because I have called her or sent her a message and she always answers back. She's so good about sharing her knowledge and we just so appreciate that.
Well, thank you. I'll tell you what I know. If I don't know, I'll let you know. I won't pretend to know, I promise.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Amelia. I think that I am so excited to try that technique. I can't wait till I have a chance to do that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was wonderful. And hopefully we can all also make some of your zucchini bread and yummy.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's the recipe my mom gave me, and that's what I grew up with, so I know it's good.
Ah,
Well, thank you,
great.
Michelle, for hosting. I really appreciate it.
Oh, yes, it was fun. Thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and everyone go check out her blog and her cake app. It's a good one. I have it.
Oh. Thanks.
All right. Well, I guess we'll see you guys all next time.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.